Hello everyone, this is Yulia Kosarenko, author of the book Business Analyst, A Profession and a Mindset. In this video, we will talk about what is a business analyst? What does it mean to be a business analyst? What do they do and what is their value to the organization? And hopefully by the end of this video, you will have a better idea about this profession. You will have a better idea about what competencies and skills are required and what does it mean actually to do business analysis, especially if you're considering this as a potential career path or if you are using some of the business analysis activities in your job, even if you have a different title. So let's get started. Who is a business analyst? All right, so what are we going to talk about today? We will talk about business analysis, what it is, who is a business analyst, what skills and competencies are needed, where do requirements come from, what exactly does it mean to do business analysis, and then I will recap with you deliverables of the business analysis process and what makes a business analyst successful. So let's start with business. When we think about business analysis, we have to remember that it has the word business in it, right? So a business is any organization that engages in activities that deliver value to its customer in exchange for revenue. So our business systems will take in some resources, materials, inputs, process them using various components of the business, and the goal is to deliver value, some products or services to our customer. This is what we do as a business. And of course, in the course of doing that, businesses will have problems. We will have problems maybe with suppliers, or our customers don't like our products, or our customers are leaving us. Our business is not efficient. We're losing money. Any type of problems you can think of. Those problems need to be solved. But in order to solve them, we have to first analyze the problem. What exactly is happening? Why is this happening? Before we can come up with potential solutions. After we've done a problem analysis, we're going to discuss and figure out what solution is required. We synthesize the solution because it may need multiple components and multiple building blocks, especially if you have a complex initial problem. This is how we identify a solution and then we build it or we design it. So business analysis is a practice of analyzing organizations and their functions to identify solutions to business problems and needs. When do we need business analysis? I can give you a lot of examples and you probably can come up with even more examples of when we will need business analysis. Anytime we're doing restructuring, reorganization, when we need to adapt and make some changes because of compliance and legislation changing. If a business model of a company changes, perhaps new types of customers, targeting new customer segments, changing the way we sell our products, and so on. Mergers, acquisitions, spin-offs, coming up with new products, designing and offering and trying to sell new products. Business process improvements, this is where we tackle inefficiencies. We're trying to reduce our cost perhaps, and modernizing and replacing outdated technology. All of these different examples represent change. So anytime organization needs to change, we need to do business analysis to make those changes successful. So who is a business analyst then? A business analyst is a professional that is trained to apply a business analysis tool and model and tools and techniques to do that what we just described, to identify what is required to solve business problems or to satisfy business needs. Always keeping in mind the goals, and the goals are usually achieving certain business objectives. So in this little picture, it's like a little model of a business analyst or anyone who is doing business analysis. The core of their job is applying various business analysis activities as part of business analysis process with the goal to achieve something. And we will talk today about what is it that you need to achieve. To do that, you are being motivated by a desire to solve a problem, you use some information and you use your experience to do those business analysis activities. As any professional, you would rely on knowledge, skills, training, tools, and techniques. So these are all fundamentals of business analysis. And you will also need your mindset, the mindset of solving problem, the mindset that makes you take responsibility for thinking and for figuring out the root cause and for trying to find the best solution to business problem. So let's now talk a little bit more about the definition of business analyst, because in reality, it's not just one job. It would be better to refer to it as business analysis job family. There are so many different titles you may find, and all of these different jobs, those people would be doing business analysis either all the time or at least part of their time, because again, business analysis includes so many different activities. So you may be business systems analyst, or you'll see a posting for product analyst or customer experience analyst. Sometimes we see titles like requirements engineer or even a business consultant or business process analyst. All of these are different titles that will have a major or at least partial component of their job as business analysis. So when we talk about what does it mean to be a business analyst today, really think of all these different job titles. And here is an example, a result of an early survey by IIBA, where different members of this organization, International Institute of Business Analysis, responded with what are their titles. And see, you can also determine from here that not everyone is called business analyst. There are some hybrid roles. Someone may have a joint role as business analyst and project manager, IT business analyst, consultant, and most importantly, if you look here, managers, directors, C-level executives, they also do business analysis. It is part of their job because guess what? They also need to solve business problems, perhaps on a higher level. Now, what are the competencies that business analysts need to do their job? So I'll give you a bit of an overview of the major groups of competencies, and these were also outlined by Business Analysis Body of Knowledge, and definitely you can discuss each one of them in more detail. First of all, analytical thinking, problem solving. So ability to think analytically, ability to focus on the problem and do that problem analysis that we just talked about earlier. Behavioral characteristics. This is how you interact with people, how you do conflict resolution, how you negotiate. Are you able to communicate effectively? Are you able to listen and create that environment that helps others to collaborate? So anything that helps you to behave as part of the team in such a way that you help this team to be more productive and you encourage others to share information with you. So those are various behavioral characteristics. If you're interested in learning more, check out my other video that talks about business analyst mindset principles, in particular the principle that says expect human behavior from human beings. And this is where we'll talk more about how to deal with other humans as part of your job of doing business analysis. Then business knowledge, which is crucial to business analyst. You need to understand the industry, you need to understand your company, you need to know the domain. That is what is necessary for you to help solve those business problems. Communication skills are extremely important. Business analyst is a communicator, is a facilitator, oral, written communication, listening, ability to convey information in multiple ways. Those are all important because part of your job is help to create a shared understanding of what the problem is and then a shared understanding of what solution you're trying to design and build. Interaction skills, facilitation, creating discussions, managing meetings, talking to people individually and in groups are all very important, of course, because we'll work with people a lot and ability to use tools and technology. Last but not the least, understanding various tools you can use to do business analysis, modeling tools, wireframing tools, and so on. And also understanding technology trends in general, what is possible, what is not possible, where is technology developing, and knowing the particular technology and business applications of your organizations also comes to play when you work on particular projects for that company. Now, as you think about these competencies, next question may be, well, what do business analysts do all day? Like, where exactly are you going to use these competencies? Why do you need it? So let's cover that quickly. What do business analysts do all day? And we'll split it up into core activities and non-core activities. Core are those that are very specific to business analysis. You may be interviewing and shadowing business experts, searching for information, investigating, facilitating meetings such as requirements workshops. You will need to do a lot of different types of analysis. You may analyze processes, for example, create process flow diagrams. You will be learning about business, creating perhaps some business models to have a better understanding. You will need to analyze data and reports and scenarios and perhaps business rules. You will be capturing, documenting various aspects of the problem and what you need to solve it. And that could include capturing assumptions, capturing the constraints under which the project will function, and capturing business requirements themselves as you are going through those analysis activities. You will be creating perhaps screen mock-ups and storyboards. So maybe drawing or using a special storyboarding tools, or even using a whiteboard or a very basic application that allows you to draw, or even a piece of paper, by the way. You will be doing a lot of communicating and interaction, and that's where you need those interaction communication skills, because part of business analyst job is to make sure that technical groups and business groups are able to communicate. So you will be explaining technical details to business, and then business information to IT, business process and requirements and roles and responsibilities and understanding of the business objectives. You will also help to review solution design to make sure that it matches the requirements. It's going to satisfy the requirements. And the same vein, review test scenarios and test cases, because that's part of, again, responsibility of anyone engaged in business analysis, making sure that the next steps that team is taking, like solution and test scenarios, actually make sense and will be sufficient to make sure you deliver the right solution. So these are all core business analysis activities. Of course, there are other activities, we call them non-core, that you will also be engaged in as a team member. Yeah, and sometimes team members have to help out each other, or maybe do some other things that are not specific to business analysis, but they're a part of the job on the projects. So business analyst will contribute to project planning, especially when it starts with requirements phase. Risk analysis. A lot of risks come out of requirements analysis. Estimating, again, understanding the sizing of different tasks and user stories, understanding perhaps even estimating business analysis activities themselves would need to be your contribution to an overall project. Data analysis. You may say that, well, data analysis is for data analysts or for data scientists, but it's a very useful skill for business analysts too, and definitely comes in handy in many cases. Testing. Business analysts often support testing, especially business acceptance testing. Running project meetings. Some of the meetings really are facilitated by business analysts, but sometimes you may step in if your team member is not available. Training, especially training end users or train the trainers programs. Peer reviews for other business analysts, again as a member perhaps of business analysis practice, helping others or doing reviews of their documents to give them kind of another set of eyes on that. And creating documentation and presentations, that's a big part of the job as well. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of an idea of what the business analysts do. Now, I want to emphasize one important point. I know there were lots of bullet points there, but here is one important message for you. Business analysis also is a very, very social activity. Okay? It requires collaboration, and you will depend on other people. So it's very important for you to learn how to work with people and accept that part of doing business analysis is communicating constantly, is facilitation, is negotiating, is a little bit maybe politics even, where you have to navigate through to be able to find solutions and to listen to everybody and understand their agendas and really find which way you can come up with that solution that will be acceptable, that will get you support of those stakeholders, and as a result that hopefully will be more successful as a solution. All right, now I want to move to the very important question of business analysis, because we all hear that business analysts gather requirements, a business analyst capture requirements, and that's really the focus of the job. But let me ask you this question: where do business requirements come from? And if you tell me that business requirements just come from business, we may have a little argument, because if you think about it, imagine you come into the orchard and you pluck the apples from the trees or pluck the berries from the bushes. It doesn't work like that in business analysis. In reality, we can't just go to business stakeholders and ask them, hey, give me your requirements. It's not going to be that simple, because stakeholders don't necessarily have requirements. They can give you information. They can tell you about their problems. They can describe their pain points, but it's not necessarily business requirements yet, right? So where do those business requirements come from? Requirements, and here is one of the main messages of this video. Requirements are a product of business analysis. We start with information. We start with gathering facts and details and data. We will discuss and extract from our stakeholders what is their vision of the future. What is this future state they want to achieve? Where do they want to be? And then we will be using business analysis process to get there. It doesn't just happen by magic. So business analysts apply those different business analysis tools and techniques to really go through this process, and that process will give us the future vision, the vision of the solution, the understanding of what solution we need to build, and this is where business requirements will really come from. Okay, so requirements do not come from business. Requirements come from business analysis, and that's the message that I really want to stay with you. So how do we do business analysis? How do we do that business analysis process that allows us to generate and synthesize requirements? It's very important to understand business analysis process. And one of my favorite quotes is this: if you can't describe what you're doing as a process, you don't know what you're doing. So let's not fall in this trap. Let's just try and describe business analysis as a process. As any process, it needs to have certain phases or steps that depend on each other. So they need to happen in sequence. And for business analysis, always the first step is discovery, understanding the business problem. Learning who are the main stakeholders, what goals do those stakeholders need to achieve, learning about current state, exploring it, discovering it, understanding how things work today, understanding various constraints of the company, of the process, of the problem, collecting artifacts, so collecting some evidence, facts, information, reports, documents, anything that gives you more detail about how this business works today, what's happening. As you're doing your discovery, you're going to be making assumptions about the project, the business rules, or the context, and you need those assumptions to help you start analysis, because when you have too many unknowns, it's very hard to get started, because it's just there's nothing for you to lean on. So every time in every project there's going to be some assumptions made that help you get started. And based on your discovery and information you got from the discovery process and on those assumptions, this is where business analysis starts. So this is where we start to analyze those artifacts and information and data. We may be doing some immersion into business process to learn more about every single step and what happens and why it happens and when things go wrong. We will use all this to determine the root cause or root causes of the problem that we need to solve. To supplement this analysis, various activities that business analysts perform help them visualize the results of this analysis. Business modeling or creating diagrams is one of those ways to visualize analysis and to help with further analysis. We'll do process analysis, which include process flow modeling, but more than that, analyzing bottlenecks and understanding different steps, maybe doing some process mining, so trying to understand whether the process need improvements and where. Scenario modeling, this is where we look at different scenarios that happen in business, what outcomes these different scenarios require, and of course many more techniques. So as we're doing this analysis, we are starting to understand better what is the future state that business needs to achieve. We may start by modeling this future state, again using some diagrams or models. We may be doing some joint design and start to finally capture and structure the requirements, right? So those are requirements of the future state. As we capture them, and I'm going to point to packaging, we have to package whatever we capture so that we retain structure, so that those requirements are easy to understand. So we will assign requirements identifiers. We will be classifying them, tracking them, tagging them, maybe cross-referencing, so that we have a coherent view of where do we want to go. And as we are doing this, some validation of what we've gathered and analyzed, validation of requirements, and prioritizing, understanding priority of those requirements is important. This is just a really high-level overview of business analysis process. I do have another video dedicated to understanding business analysis process and another one to business analysis tools and techniques. So definitely check those out to dig deeper into this topic. We will though move on today, and as we look at this process at a high level, let's then say, well, why are we doing all this? Let's go back and recap that we are applying business analysis activities in order to achieve certain deliverables, to deliver something. So what is it that we need to get out of business analysis process? What do we need for to solve business problems? First of all, we're looking for artifacts that structure and capture the requirements, right? So we are capturing requirements and we support it by different ways to communicate them. And I'll show you a few examples very soon. We want to look for visuals, pictures, models, and diagrams that help us organize and clarify these requirements and give us that big picture so that we understand the whole solution that we want to build. We often also try to document and identify and document user acceptance criteria. So what solution would be acceptable? What features of the solution are necessary for us to say, yeah, I like it. It solves my problem. This is what I need. So we call it user acceptance criteria. And let me give you now some examples of those deliverables, because again, I know I constantly go back to visuals. Visuals help us understand information, and using visuals in a presentation or in a learning video is no exception. So here are some examples of deliverables you may do as a result of business analysis. A user story map, which will show you how the big user journey can be broken down in smaller steps and activities. And this helps us plan and define user stories and even plan our releases. Groomed user stories. So one of the ways capture requirements is through user stories, where every story tells us what a particular user wants to achieve in a small increments and why, and that's how we can start capturing our requirements and plan building of a solution. A product backlog, which is collection of those user stories, and that helps us again to organize them into iterations, and this is very actively used in various agile methodologies to help plan and execute our product and deliver our product in manageable increments. Another example is a scenario matrix. So we talk a little bit about scenario analysis. What happens in various scenarios? What are possible factors that will require different outcomes? And then what are you supposed to do, or what is the solution supposed to do for each scenario? This helps us not only analyze requirements, but also plan out testing. Various diagrams, such as the swim lane diagram, that help us visualize both current state and future state. Wireframes, another way to visualize what the user wants to see, for example, on a website, in an app, or in any other application where information is presented visually. And data dictionary is another example of looking behind all this front end and visuals and talking about, well, what data is needed to be stored, what data we will need, for example, to manage this process, to properly define and direct our scenarios, what data we need perhaps to generate useful analytics. So data is again an important part of our overall requirements and needs to be part of business analysis process. For those who are interested in more, check out my other video called What Business Analysts Need to Know About Data. And finally, again, as another important point of this video, we just talked about various business analysis deliverables and outcomes. We looked at some examples, but now I want to emphasize that the most important outcome of business analysis is shared understanding of business requirements by all stakeholders. So it's not enough for us to gather information and analyze it and create diagrams and document 200 user stories and create beautiful user story maps. If someone created it and captured it, but they're the only person who is in tune with all that information, it's not enough. For business analysis to be successful, you want all stakeholders involved in the project to have a shared understanding, to have that agreement. So any diagrams and models that you created, they need to be understood by everyone and interpreted in the same way. You have to make sure that that interpretation is there, that understanding is there, and that it's a shared understanding, and there's no ambiguities and no divergences in opinions where you think everything is clear, but then the developer has a very different idea about for example, what's in the backlog, and then the person doing testing has a third idea, and your customer expects something completely different. So this shared understanding is one of the key outcomes of business analysis process, and business analysts take responsibility and need to take responsibility for that. All right, so how do you achieve this shared understanding? What are you supposed to do? I mean, it sounds hard, and of course it's not easy. One of the ways you can think about it is that you will work with different people who have different ways of absorbing information and analyzing and understanding information. And the business analyst needs to cater to those different needs and ways of processing information by explaining things many times and many ways. We need to recap, we need to review, we need to walk through, use diagrams, use matrices, use just discussions and informal meetings. Maybe we need to recap as a group, or look at the data, or create a wireframe or a mock-up that helps us visualize things, or compare to different scenarios to highlight what and how they are different. So here you see some of the little icons that represent people who think differently. And as a business analyst, if you cater to those different needs, and if you make your requirements captured in such a way that you can cater to different people, this is one of the ways for you to get to that shared understanding. So one of the ways, again, you can think about it, about catering to different needs and explaining many times in many ways, is by thinking of your goal as being creating rich requirements. So backlog of user stories is just a backlog of user stories, and each user story has its standard format. We will make our requirements more rich if we add supplementary visuals and artifacts such as diagrams and matrices and tables and wireframes and visuals, presentations, and so on. This is what supplements, this is what helps us to connect requirements together, maybe connect those user stories together, see the full picture. Is my user journey complete? Do I have any user stories in different iterations that maybe contradict each other? And just understanding what is it going to look like. So rich requirements is where you can actually expand how you create a shared understanding with various tools, and trust me, it will be helpful and your stakeholders will appreciate it. Finally, I want to complete this video and conclude it with a question: what makes a business analyst successful? Because if you are thinking of becoming a business analyst or using more business analysis tools in your job, how will you make yourself successful? How can you aim for being more successful? What do you need to do? Because you want to have the job satisfaction, you want to enjoy what you're doing, and you want to really feel that you're making a difference. So what is it that you need? Let's take a look. Let's go back to our diagram, our model of a business analyst. To be successful, of course, you need to gather and discover information. Business analysis process is not possible without us doing a good discovery and research and having enough information to do analysis. You want as a foundation your professional knowledge, your skills, tools and techniques. You may be taking some training or learning tools and techniques in practice and continually expanding your knowledge as a professional. You need experience. Definitely with every project, with every activity, you're gaining more experience. You're learning how to do things better, and you're finding what tools and techniques to use in different circumstances. You definitely need your motivation to do the right thing, motivation to solve business problems. And finally, you need the business analyst mindset. Business analyst mindset helps you focus on what is important in business analysis. And business analyst mindset can be presented by the 12 principles. You can, by the way, download a poster, free poster with the 12 principles of business analyst mindset. I will provide a link in the comments. But these are the main things that help you do a great job and then receive a satisfaction. You focus on the business goals, and remember that whatever you do as a business analyst is for the business purpose, so it must have a certain objective that you want to achieve. You focus on solving the right problem, question information that you receive to make sure that you get to the root cause, take responsibility for leading teams, facilitating meetings, creating the proper communication. You do analysis. You don't just gather information, you actually have to analyze it before we can synthesize those requirements. We work on uncovering gaps, on simplifying especially business processes to make sure that we don't go ahead and automate things without them being optimized first. We take responsibility for shared understanding of business requirements. We make sure that everyone working on the problem has the same understanding of the problem. Accept and embrace business change, work on that solution and become part of the solution to the very end, a part of the delivery process. Expect human behavior from human beings and learn, adapt, and thrive. So all of these are just some of the things you can keep in mind as you're trying to do your best. I do have a whole series of videos, 12 of them, one for each principle of BA mindset, if you would like to explore a little bit more. And finally, if you would like to have more resources, you can check out my website, find more videos on this Why Change channel, and also find some video courses at courses@whychange.com. Reach out to me anytime, and I hope that this video gave you some good ideas about What does it mean to be a business analyst? What do they do? Who are they? What kind of people may be successful as business analysts? And that this will give you ideas about what do you want to do with your career. Perhaps this is not for you, but maybe it is. Definitely explore more, find more videos on my website. There's lots of other resources. There is a lot of people that have been helping to develop business analysis profession for years. You can find their courses, their articles, their books. Explore, learn, adapt, and strive. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Yulia Kosarenko. Until next time.